Hey there, and thank you so much for jumping in. And I want to thank so many of you for being a part of this community, a community that I believe is changing lives with every single interaction, a community that may sometimes not always get it right, but we are on the constant pursuit to a higher life and to bring others to that higher plane with us. I want to thank you so much for every share. I want to thank you for every comment. I want to thank you for every inbox. I want to thank you for every word of encouragement that each of you have given to me. In my lowest moments, those words, they permeate my heart like an empty hallway, actually ringing out sounds that restore hope and joy. And so I am grateful today for each and every one of you and the shares and the messages that you have shared with me. Today, I am hoping and praying to share a message with you that I believe is going to impact the very nature of who you are. I believe that it's going to shift the trajectory of your thoughts because there are some things that I firmly believe that it is the time and the season for you to release. I think that sometimes we hold on to things, whether it is because we are unaware that they are holding us back, or whether it is that we just don't have the strength to fight back. I believe that sometimes we hold on to things in our heart that can prevent us from moving forward into the life that we would desire to live. And isn't it just like our enemy that when we are held back in a specific area of our life, that we can see someone else that is not held back, and certain things can begin to arise, whether it is jealousy or whether it is frustration, whether it is fear or anger. Certain things can begin to rise when you see yourself being held back in a specific area that others are not held back in. I think in this culture, we see this a lot of times where people will involve themselves with other people's lives. They will involve themselves to pay attention to what other people are doing. And don't let it be something positive that someone else is doing, because we will search and research using our time and our energy to find something wrong with that person, place, or thing. I've seen it countless numbers of times that someone that is launching out to do something amazing, that you will have small-minded individuals and or people who are battling with their own inability to move forward or to press forward, that they begin to find something wrong with someone else in an effort to try to paint a narrative or a picture to tear them down. There is a very popular content creator that I am so very proud of, and his name is Keith Lee. And Keith Lee, I'm sure, has issues just like everyone else does. I'm sure that he battles and struggles just as much as everyone else does. But at the same time that Keith Lee would battle and struggle, I believe that he pushes love and he pushes kindness and he pushes goodness. May he battle with other things, he may very well. But I choose to focus on the good that I see in him. I choose to focus on the good that I see him do in this world. And I was so shocked and utterly surprised the other day when an individual that even looked like him began to try to find something negative to paint a picture or a narrative about him. And it crushed my heart just a little bit to think that we are still there, that we are still there in the form of wanting to pull someone else that we down, that we should and could be pushing them up, because once one of us succeeds, then all of us succeed. But if you have a crab like mentality, or if you have the root of bitterness in your heart, then it is very hard for you to celebrate someone else's success. I'm sure that many of you have dealt with that in your walk of life, where you have had individuals that try to pull your character down, or that tried to say things that weren't so nice towards you, or maybe they tried to get other people to turn against you and to say things in a negative manner concerning you. And you may have become disappointed, and you may have asked yourself the question, well, what did I do? What was it about me that provoked that? And the reality is, many times, most of the times, no, all of the times, it is never anything about you that provoked it. It's everything about you that provoked it. It is because it is you that are doing things that would shape a nation, or that would change or break generational curses, or that would present something new to culture outside of what culture has seen. And when someone sees you doing that, they cannot help but to recognize or to realize their own inability to do that. And it can cause them to begin to talk. It can cause them to begin to become bitter. Today, I want to talk about the seed of bitterness. And the reason why I want to talk about the seed of bitterness is because while you may have experienced someone else that has caused you to be victim to their charade of responding to bitterness, there is a question that you must still ask yourself: is where or is there bitterness in your heart? Bitterness is one of those seeds that does not come in and announce itself when it comes into place in your heart. It does not come in and say, I'm bitterness and I am going to hold you back from your dreams. I'm going to hold you back from your promises, but I'm also going to cause you to hold other people back from their dreams and their promises. I'm going to use you through this act of bitterness, through this seed of bitterness, to begin to delay the purposes and the promises of God in your life and in other people around you life. Bitterness doesn't come in and announce itself. A matter of fact, most of us don't even realize or recognize when bitterness does come in. I was thinking to myself the other day, because I was dealing with something on my heart concerning another person. And it's a person that I don't really frequent that often, so out of sight, almost out of mind. But I saw a picture of them, and something rose up inside of my heart at that moment that I saw the picture. And I sat with myself for a few moments and I asked myself, wait, what is that feeling? I don't recognize that. And I realized that that feeling was bitterness, that I had harbored bitterness in my heart concerning a specific person. And it was a family member. And I realized that the reason why I harbored those feelings in my heart was because there was an expectation I had of that individual that they did not follow through with. And they have gone on with their life like nothing ever happened. But deep down inside of my heart, I was still holding on to the place where the action was done. And I wasn't able to move forward. That person had moved forward, but I hadn't. And so bitterness, it rose up in my heart as of a result of something that I refused to let go of. And I was seeing someone else move on like nothing ever happened. I realized that bitterness wasn't just introduced to me in that place. Bitterness was introduced to me, as it is to most of us that battle or struggle with harboring feelings or unforgiveness or any form of bitterness in our heart. You see, bitterness, the root of bitterness or the fruit of bitterness, shows up and it begins to reveal itself when you have an expectation of someone to do something, or you have an expectation of someone to fulfill a specific spot in your life, and you find yourself disappointed. You start asking the questions, well, why won't they? Why don't they? And that question begins to ruminate or begins to repeat over and over again in your heart and in your mind. Now, when it's repeating, you're not saying to yourself that I'm bitter. What you're saying to yourself is, I'm being a victim. And that's where most of us like to rest in the comfortability of being a victim. Most of us that battle, or most people that battle with any form of bitterness, they will often find themselves in victim-like circumstances. And the truth of the matter is, you curate those types of situations. You curate those types of circumstances. Chances are that you have curated those type of circumstances and situations because there is a hole in your heart from something that was done a long time ago. Maybe it was a parent that was not in your life, that maybe walked out of your life or wasn't in your life the way you needed them to be. Maybe that parent did not show up in a way that you wanted them to show up, and you learned to act as though you did not need them. And you continue to move on in your life trying to act like it did not exist, the hole that was there that was left by their inability to show up for you. And so you live your life going through circumstances and situations, setting high expectations for others, trying to get someone to fulfill that hole, trying to get someone to fulfill that void. You set these high expectations that are almost impossible for any person to reach, so that you can constantly live in this cycle of not having all of your desires met, and therefore bitterness takes root and it forms into a tree. So where you go through life and you feel as though you're not being treated like everyone else. You go through life and you feel as though you don't have the respect from those that you desire the respect from. You don't have the ear from those that you desire the ear from the way that everybody else may. You will always see yourself in a victim space of feeling like you don't do it for me, but you do it for others, or you don't care for me and you care for others. This is the root of bitterness. Hebrews chapter 12, verse number 15 says, "See to it that no one falls short of grace." Grace is allowing someone else to have grace. Forgiveness, offering forgiveness. See to it that no one falls short of grace of God, and that no bitter roots grow up and cause trouble that defile many. You see, when bitterness presents itself into your heart, when it sneaks in, when it creeps in, it does not come just to cause one moment of pressure, one moment of pain or disappointment, but bitterness actually comes with a dual purpose, one of holding you back. And the way it's going to hold you back is by constantly making you become hyper vigilant over everything that someone else does or says. You begin to keep track records, and this helps you to build the fortified fortress or wall of bitterness by building those track records where you hold tick marks against people. The way that you overcome bitterness is by recognizing that everything that happened in your life happened for a reason. That everything that did not happen in your life, everything that you received, everything that you did not receive, that it happened for a reason. When you can recognize that every person that walked out for a reason. Every person that listened for a reason. Every person that did not listen for a reason. Every person that left you, they left you for a reason. Every person that came to you, they came to you for a reason. And when you can recognize that all things happen with purpose, with destinaic reason behind it, it places you in this position of not having to be bitter or remorseful over something that did not happen, because you can take each situation as it was. Taking each situation as it is or as it was releases you. It releases you with the peace of not holding or harboring anything hurtful or harmful. My question to you today, my question is, are you willing today to let go of the expectations that you have put on other people, whether spoken or unspoken? Are you willing today to forgive the ones that did not show up for you and that did not support you, or that did not listen to you, or that did walk out on you? Are you willing to forgive them because you see that what's ahead of you is so much greater than anything that's behind you? That you see that your best days are yet ahead of you. You have not met the best people that you would ever meet. You have not walked into the greatest situations that you would ever walk into. And knowing that our God has a way of showing recompense and rewarding you and paying you back for whatever you have endured. Those that sow in tears shall reap in joy. Weeping may endure for a night, joy comes in the morning. That there is nothing behind you that can stop anything that God has ahead of you. That anything that left, it was not meant to stay. And that you can willingly release those feelings and emotions that are attached to or holding on to any place, any person, or anything, because you know that better is ahead of you. Today we can release bitterness because we believe that better is ahead of us. Today we can release bitterness because we know that God has allowed all things to happen that did happen, and that all of those things work together. So they work for my good. They work for your good. So today we willingly release bitterness, and we walk in a space of peace and a space of love. We walk in a place of being able to ascertain everything that God has for us with great joy and anticipation. not of our trust in other people, because some trust in horses, some trust in chariots, but we place our trust in God. And we know that by placing our trust in God, it releases man from that obligation. Then we can put God on Front Street and allow him to be God over every area of our life. I pray that today has been a blessing, that you have released all of the bitterness that you have carried, some for 20, some for 30, maybe for 40 or 50 years, that today you would release that bitterness and you would trust God with the next phase of your life. I hope that this message has blessed you, and if it has blessed you, there is a link at the bottom of this message. And I challenge each person, whenever you hear something that blesses you, you either say thank you or you sow a seed into it. There is a link right at the bottom, and I challenge each and every one of you to begin to initiate your stage of healing by either saying thank you or sowing and planting into this ministry and into this word. Please use the link on the bottom to do so. Maybe you need prayer, and if that is the case, then just simply say, I need prayer in the comments. Every single Thursday at 6 o'clock a.m., our prayer team is praying for you, and we would count it as a privilege and an honor to pray for your family, your friends, your finances, your health, and even your mental health. We are praying for you. God bless you. Let go of the bitterness, because better